All right, one more prediction video coming up this week. This time, the noon games. I've done a prediction video for all the afternoon games, all the primetime games. Today, we're going to tackle the noon games, the early games coming up this Saturday. I'm going to give you a preview and a prediction against the spread. Let's go. Yeah, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Also, in addition to that as well, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. And believe it or not, some of them are even watchable. I don't know about this one. You can let me know in the comments down below at the end how you think this one comes out. But we're going to talk about some of the noon games today. Again, I've done a prediction video for all the afternoon games, like the 3 and 4 o'clock games. And I've done one for the primetime game, so click back a couple of videos if you want to check those out. But I'm going to talk about the early games today. Vandy at Wake Forest was super early, 11 a.m. Eastern time, a rare 11 a.m. Eastern kickoff in this one. It's going to come on the ACC network. Vandy goes on the road, SEC versus ACC here. SEC's been taking a beating early in the college football season. I believe they're 1-3 in Power 5 matchups so far this season. Probably going to be 1-4 after this one. I don't know if hyped up's the right word to use. I've talked a lot about Vandy in the offseason. Their win total, their Vegas win total in the offseason was 3.5. And I'm like, they can win more games than that. So I bet Vandy over 3.5 in the offseason. So I need Vandy to find a way to win 4 games. Now, they're already halfway there. They won their first 2 games. I don't know if they can win this one, though, on the road at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a 10-point favorite. And even though they lost Sam Hartman at QB, they still run that. I don't even really know how to describe the Wake Forest offense. You almost have to watch it. Really, it doesn't really fit into any. It doesn't fit. It's not a traditional offense, just to say the least. It's like a combination of the zone and the read and the spread and the option. I don't know. It's just kind of strange to watch. And they've looked offensively okay so far this season. Wake Forest has, like I mentioned, even though they lost Sam Hartman. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, I'm going to be honest, they've been a little disappointing. Even though they're 2-0, they barely beat Hawaii at home back in, was that a week 0 game? Yeah, so they've played 2 games. Maybe that's a little bit of an advantage here against the Wake Forest team who's only played 1. I just don't know if Vandy can go on the road and get this win. But since I rode high on Vandy all offseason, I am going to take Vandy in the points in this game. So give me all 10 of those points. I'll take Vandy. Maybe they can keep it within the 10 points, or who knows, maybe even pull off the upset and get the win. Ball State at number 1 ranked Georgia. Georgia's second nothing game in a row to start the season here. Georgia's schedule not very exciting here to start off the 2023 season. Back-to-back national champs beat up on UT Martin last week. This week they host Ball State, and they're a 41.5-point favorite. This game comes on noon over on the SEC network. Do I think Georgia can beat Ball State by more than 41.5? Yes, they could beat them 100-0 if that was their goal. The problem is, in these types of games, that's not the goal. These coaches have certain things they want to see, certain players they want to play. The starters get yanked early a lot of times in these games. I think Georgia is something like 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games where they've been a 40-point favorite or more. Georgia's actually more likely to beat a Power 5 team by 40, that they're favored over by 20, I think, than they are to beat Ball State by the 41.5. There's no way Georgia will lose this game. And like I said, if they decided they wanted to come out and just win this game by as much as they could, I think everybody agrees they could probably win this game by more than the 41.5. For betting purposes, there's no way I would touch this game. I wouldn't take Ball State in the points. I also wouldn't take Georgia in later. I wouldn't bet this game with your money. Georgia will win big. This is one of those games you just, you want to get out with no injuries. Maybe Carson Beck show a little bit of development at quarterback from week 1 to week 2. Georgia had multiple starters. They didn't play in the first week because he had nagging injuries. Nothing too serious, but like Ladd McConkey didn't play with a stiff back. Marcus Rosemary-Jack Saint didn't play because he was serving a 1-game suspension. So maybe some of those guys will be back. Maybe some of the defensive guys play a little bit more. We'll see. But main thing, get out of this game without any major injuries. Georgia will win huge. Now, here's what I'm looking forward to. Notre Dame on the road at NC State. This one comes on also at 12 o'clock. This one on ABC. Notre Dame also played a week 0 game. Navy completely destroyed them. Last week, they played an FCS team. Tennessee State completely destroyed them. This week, they have their first, well, not really their first road game. I mean, they traveled to Ireland. I guess that was technically a neutral site game, but come on, you traveled all the way to Ireland. Tennessee State last week. On the road at NC State this week. An okay NC State team. They lost Devin Leary, their quarterback, to the transfer portal. He's at Kentucky now, so they brought in Brennan Armstrong from was it Virginia or Virginia Tech? Anyway, I wasn't overly impressed with NC State last week, but this is a big step up in competition for Notre Dame. Not that NC State is some type of a top 10 or even top 20 team, but come on, they've played Navy and Tennessee State. Now, the best you can do when you play those types of teams is completely destroy and dominate them, and that's what Notre Dame did. Notre Dame's looked good throwing the ball with Sam Hartman at quarterback coming over from Wake Forest. They've got some young receivers that have looked good. They've ran the ball really, really well with Estime and a stable of running backs, really. And defensively, they've looked really, really good, too. In fact, they held Navy to about 125 yards rushing, and that's pretty good against Navy, a triple option team that averages about 250 a game. I mean, they can't complete a pass to save their life, Navy, but typically they're able to run the ball on almost anybody they play, and Notre Dame pretty much shut that down. I've been nothing but impressed with what I've seen from Notre Dame so far, regardless of the competition that it's been against. That being said, though, this is, like I mentioned, this is clearly a step up in competition, a Power 5 team on the road, NC State. Notre Dame's favored by 7.5. I think Notre Dame wins this game easily. I don't think this game's going to be particularly close. I think I'm buying Notre Dame early in the year. I think they're a legitimate top 10 team. I think that Notre Dame-Ohio State game coming up in a couple of weeks looks a lot more interesting now than it did before the season started. Notre Dame has been on a complete steamroll. Ohio State struggled out of the gate last week offensively, only scoring 23 points, only 2 touchdowns. Against conference opponent lowly Indiana. No touchdown passes for that stable of wide receivers. There's still some quarterback. I don't know if controversy is the right word, but Ryan Day is saying they're still going to play. I don't know why I'm doing a Notre Dame-Ohio State preview in this video. Point is, in the offseason, I don't know, I was 65% sure Ohio State would beat Notre Dame. That game's in Notre Dame. After what I've seen early in the year from Notre Dame, it's closer to 50-50, and I may even be leaning a little bit towards Notre Dame. I do want to see how they do this week on the road against a Power 5 opponent. Like I mentioned, they're a 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Notre Dame and lay the 7.5. Utah at Baylor doesn't look nearly as interesting as it did in the offseason. Baylor took an absolutely humiliating loss to a bad group of 5 team last week. Utah has had extra time to prepare for this game, having played on Thursday night of week 1 when they hosted Florida. Beat them, I believe, 24-13, if I remember correctly, the final score there. We'll see if Cam Rising finally gets to play in this game. He did not play against Florida. In fact, Utah was down to their 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks in that game. So we'll see if Utah gets some of their quarterbacks back. That tight end, Queeth, I think is his name. They do have to travel, play at Baylor. I mean, clearly that's more difficult than playing at home. I just don't see a chance Baylor can pull this off. Now, Utah's favored by 7, comes on 12 o'clock on ESPN. Can Utah go on the road and get the 7-point win? I don't know. Am I picking all favorites? This is not good. But yes, I like Utah to win and cover the 7. I think they're that much better, and this extra time to prepare, I think, is going to help them. And Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado, probably the most talked about team of the week, coming out of week 1 with a stunning victory on the road at TCU. A great game, 45-42. They hold on to win that one over TCU. No defense at all played in that game. Just a track meet up and down the field. Shedeur Sanders over 500 yards passing. Travis Hunter, 115 yards receiving or thereabouts, plus an interception on defense, played like 140, 150 snaps. A true two-way player. That's something we have not seen in a long, long time. This is Colorado's first home game. It's going to be an absolute zoo of an environment. I mean, probably the wildest environment of all of college football this weekend will be in Boulder, Colorado at noon when this game kicks off as they host old Big 12 rival Nebraska, who struggled in their week 1 matchup on the road against Minnesota. Defensive struggle. Really 2 opposite games that Colorado and Nebraska played in week 1. The Colorado game was kind of a track meet, basketball score type of game, 45-42. Nebraska played on the road at Minnesota, and neither team could really move the ball or score. Minnesota ends up winning that thing 13-10 at the end, but they didn't even score a touchdown until 2 minutes to go in the game. Minnesota didn't. To tie it at 10, then kicked a field goal a couple of minutes later to win the game. Nebraska's going to have to find some kind of offense if they want to hang with Colorado. I do think Nebraska's defense is miles better than TCU's. Still hard to take away a lot of anything from Colorado, though. I mean, they looked really good offensively. It looked like their defense didn't exist at all. Is it possible that offense can repeat their performance from last week at home? I don't know. Actually, I do know. No, give me Nebraska. Keep the same energy, Woo. I'm going to keep the same energy, son. Give me Nebraska and the 3 points.